Hi, I'm Reen Wilcoxson. Today I'm going to show you how to stitch the sticky notepad holder completely in the hoop of an embroidery machine. It features a little cork accent here, and it slides over an acrylic frame holder so it can sit on a desk or on a table. I've got my pieces cut out per the instructions, but I need to cut the cork oval out first. I've already got my file loaded onto the machine, so all I have to do now is hit start. It'll just take it a minute to cut out. The machine is determining the depth of the material that I put on it before it starts to do its cut. And it's that quick. So let's go ahead and get our little oval off. And we're ready to start. I'm going to go over to the machine now to get ready. So the first thing I have to do is to take my batting and center it down in the hoop and take my fabric and lay it right side up on top of the batting. I'm going to go ahead and load the hoop, lower the foot, and the machine is going to stitch a rectangle around the fabric and the batting, securing it down, and it's going to do a stipple stitch. If you want to look at the screen, you can see that the design is basically a rectangle. It has the placement for the oval circle for the notes that's embroidered on there, and a couple of other placement lines. This will take a few minutes to stitch the stippling out, and you do have a choice of threads that you can use. You can use a thread that blends in for your stippling, or you can choose another thread that may accent the fabric that you're using. And while it's stitching, I'll talk about some of the other pieces that we're going to use. Again, I have cut all the pieces according to the instructions. One of the other pieces for the pocket that holds the sticky notepad in is just a folded piece of fabric that's had a piece of interfacing ironed onto it to give the edge a little bit of body so that when you're putting the sticky notepad in, this doesn't sag down. Then I have another folded piece of fabric that's folded wrong sides together. This piece will help to form the pocket on the back of the holder so that it can slide over the acrylic frame. And the last piece just finishes off the back side. So now the stippling is done, and it is going to come out and stitch a placement for our little cork oval. To place the cork oval, I'm going to use a fabric glue pen, and I'm going to just put a little bit of glue on the back side so that it will hold it in place while it's going to stitch. So I'm just putting a little on. It doesn't matter, you know, how much I get on there, just enough to hold it down. I am going to move the hoop forward to me so that I can see how to place it better. It is important that you get this placed within the placement line so that when the next step stitches, it stitches exactly where it should. And I think I have it pretty well stuck down. The next step is going to go ahead and it's going to stitch the oval in place following the outline of the cutout oval. Everything is already programmed into this pattern, and it's going to stitch exactly as I've told the machine to stitch it. You just follow the instructions. So now the oval is stitched down. The next step is going to stitch out the word notes. The word notes is probably going to take maybe about 4 minutes to stitch, so I'm just going to let it start, and then I'm going to take the hoop off and put on another one that I already have stitched the word notes on. But you can see how it starts to stitch. It puts down some underlay stitching so that the satin stitching looks really nice. I'll just go ahead and stop the machine now. I'm going to cut the thread. I'll take this hoop off. And you can see the one that has already stitched the word notes on it. Okay, so I'm just going to get this one put on. And I'm going to advance the machine to the next step because I've already stitched the word notes. So the next step that's going to stitch are two very small placement lines. We have to know where to put the pocket that is going to hold the sticky notepad. It just makes a small placement line on either side of the hoop. And then once that's down, I'm going to place the fold of the pocket along those two placement lines. And again, I do have to bring the hoop a little bit towards myself so I can see those placement lines. And that's all you do. You just place the fold against those placement lines. And the next step is going to stitch it down using two more placement lines. It stitches it near the bottom. This next piece of fabric has been folded wrong sides together. And I'm going to be placing the fold of this fabric even with the fold of those two placement lines. Again, this folded piece is what's going to be making the note holder, the pocket for the note holder, so that the frame can slip inside. Okay, so I'm just putting the fold even with that. And this step is going to stitch this pocket, this piece that I just placed on at the top. This project goes together pretty quickly. I only have one more piece of fabric to go. Okay, now that this piece has been stitched on, the last step is to take the last piece of fabric. And if this fabric had a right or a wrong side, I would be placing it right side down. This fabric, though, is the same on both sides, so it doesn't matter. This step now is going to stitch around the hoop, leaving an opening at the top. And when this step is done, the sticky note holder is finished. You can, if you want, tape the pieces down. I normally don't do that, but it's a choice if you want to or not. You can do these in tons of different colors to match your decor. They would make great gifts for people. Even for guys, you could do these in, a masculine type fabric, and I think it would make a nice gift for them. So it's almost done stitching. And I'm ready to take it out of the hoop now. I'll go back over to the table to finish the project off. Okay, so it's done. And I just take it out of the hoop. And let me move some of this out of the way. So the first thing I like to do is to trim this batting. I like to trim the batting close to the stitching. And what that does is it gets all of the batting out of the corners, because we want the corners to poke out nicely on this, and we don't want a lot of bulk in the seam. So I'll just kind of start this and show you what I mean. I'm just trimming the batting close, and I've got one here that I've already trimmed, or I've almost finished trimming it. So I would go ahead and finish trimming this close to the stitching, and then I'm going to trim around the entire little holder. So you can see where the opening is here, and I want to leave it longer here and trim about a 1/4 inch all the way around. I'd clip my corners, and after I've done that, this is how it's going to look. Now I'm ready to turn it to the right side. And all I do is reach my hand inside and just start to turn it. It easily turns, and I do need something to poke the corners out a little bit. So instead of you watching me poke out corners, I do have one that I've already done that too. Okay, this one has been pressed, the corners are all poked out, and here's that opening where I turned it through. All I did was fold the edges in, and I'm going to use some fusible tape, maybe fusible glue, maybe even hand sew it closed. But after it's closed up, I just reach in again, and I turn the project one more time. Again, I will want to poke my corners out, And I would take my time and get the corners poked out nicely, and I would give it a nice press. And here's one that I have completely finished. You can see the opening on the back side. And here's the little frame that it can slide over. Take your 3x3 sticky note pads and just take, you know, maybe 20 sheets or so. Stick it onto the pocket, and you can place a pin in the pocket too. So it makes a cute little gift. I can give you a little tip on making a pin that matches. You can see that I have matching fabric, and that is so easy to do. All you need is a pin that unscrews at the end, has a clear barrel. Take a strip of fabric about a 1/2 inch wide and about 4 inches long. Iron a piece of single-sided interfacing onto the back side of it. After you do that, you will just take it and roll it up really tightly, insert it down into the pin, and put it back together again, and you have a matching pin. Makes a really cute set. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how easy it is to create this gift for yourself or for your friends.